vote on the superintendent's addendum. Not the agenda, just the addendums, and then continue with the public, with the public.
You know the public.
Seconded.
Is there a first and second?
I seconded it.
There's a first, just so I understand the motion at 10:15, maybe 10:18. You want to vote on the superintendent's addendum?
Yes.
And then go back to public?
Yes.
Okay, and there's a second. Is there discussion?
Mike, excuse me. What are the addendums?
Mr. Green will read them. They mostly involve.
Can't hear you. Speak in the mic. Yeah, let the people know what you're about to do.
Hold on. There's a motion and a second to, as the public should know, there were quite a few people rice this evening. There were discussions held with those who opted to show. There are significant decisions, what needed time of the board and those affected employees, as well as the superintendent and assistant superintendent to review. There's a motion by a board member and a second to vote on those addendum, the superintendent items, and then go back to public comment. And is there a discussion amongst the board as to that? Give me 1 second, Jim, just one, please. Is there any discussion amongst the board?
Why are we going on voting?
I have to leave now, and I would like to vote on that.
Very good.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? So I understand this, the public will vote on the public will be able to speak on the regular agenda after that?
After midnight, probably.
Okay. Roll call, please, Mr. B.A.
Mr. Fink?
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mrs. Micchio?
Yes.
Mr. Seitler?
Yes.
Mr. Mr. Silver's not here. Mr. Tift?
Yes.
Mr. Zlatkin?
Yes.
Mr. Ostreicher?
Yes.
Mr. Brunhut?
Yes.
Okay, so what are the addendum?
Okay, the first addendum to be read.
If you could just use your mic, because there is a public here that needs to...
The first addendum to be read is from the superintendent. It's the approval to apply for the 21st Century Community Learning Centers Program Grant in the amount of $535,000 from September 11, 2011 to August 31st, 2012, with $283,683 for non-public and $141,841 to the public.
I like that disparity.
Jim, please.
I wish you guys would eat some rice.
I read it. I have to read it.
Next.
I didn't realize.
Jim, if we could ask you, please. I'm being asked what rice means. I'm not doing it. Next.
Oh, it's
Okay,
stuff
there's
in
a
the
personnel item. There's a personnel item.
Where's the microphone?
Physicians and consultants correction to Julie Wolf, BCBA consultant for board approval on December 20, 2010. Approval for additional 25.5 hours for February 2011 and additional 32.5 hours for March 2011. This will be effective April 1st, 2011 to June 30th, 2011.
Mr. Chairman, there are several addendums, so the board could correctly consider each one, so we don't have to remember which one is which. Would it be okay to ask the board if we could vote on, or you could vote on each one separately?
Yes.
Any problem with that? That would make more sense, so you don't have to say which one was it, and then we could be here till tomorrow. So the first one we heard, that was the Century 21 grant. The Century 21 grant. That was a motion by Mr. Was there a motion?
By me.
By Mr. Zlatkin, a second? Second by Mr. Ostreicher. Any discussion?
Yes, Mike. Have we applied for this grant in the past?
From what I understand, this is a renewal. The grant, I was told, is several years in duration.
Okay. Now, so was the money difference to public and non-public the same, or was it some? I'm not sure. Was it the same last time we applied for it, or was it different?
From what I've been told by the grant office, they're asking for it to follow the same policy as with Title I, which is based on population, which is approximately 2/3, 1/3.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, will you call out, please, sir?
Mr. Fink?
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mrs. Micchio?
Yes.
Mr. Seitler?
Yes.
Mr. Tift?
Yes.
Mr. Zlatkin?
Yes.
Mr. Oestreicher?
Yes.
Mr. Grunhut? The second addendum is for physicians and consultants, a correction to Julie Wolf, BCBA consultant prior to board approval on December 20th, 2010. Approval for an additional 25.5 hours for February 2011 and additional 32.5 hours for March 2011.
Is there any discussion? Is there a motion? It's moved by Ms. Micchio, a second by Mr. Zlatkin. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Fink?
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mrs. Micchio?
Yes.
Mr. Seitler?
Yes.
Mr. Tift?
I want you guys to know.
No, we're not doing
No,
that.
my time is important too.
It is, but there's procedure here.
Yes.
All right, you guys can take your procedure.
And,
Mr. Zlatkin?
You can
Yes.
use your rights.
yes.
Mr. Oestreicher?
And I'm
Yes.
going home.
Mr. Grunhut?
Yes.
Next
You're
motion.
doing exactly what you want you to do.
No, I don't have to tolerate this.
Okay, the next one is the approval of Professional Development Institute focusing on understanding, designing, and applying Apple technology within the instructional framework, English language arts curriculum design, including digital storytelling, movie books, podcasts, and digital creation as a foundation for learning and impacting literacy through technology at a cost of $273,583.70, paid through Title I funds.
Is there a motion?
Again.
Read that again, sir, you've been asked.
Approval of Professional Development Institute, focusing on understanding, designing, and applying Apple technology within the instructional framework.
It's a good one.
Okay,
Okay, so that's grant using Title I money.
correct.
Is there a motion?
Is it,
Yes.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Roll call.
Mike, is it for discussion?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, yes, I have a question. The grant for the Apple technology, will the districts receive any computers, any technology as far as
Yeah,
getting this grant?
there'll be 2 iPad carts in each of the elementary schools and an Apple lab in the middle school.
Thank you.
And that's using Title I money?
that is correct. It is using Title I money, paid through Title I funds.
Okay.
Mr. Fink?
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mrs. Micchio?
Yes.
Mr. Seitler?
Yes.
Mr. Tift?
Yes.
Mr. Zlatkin?
Yes.
Mr. Oestreicher?
Yes.
Mr. Grunhut?
Yes.
Okay, the fourth item is the superintendent's item, approval of Professional Leadership Institute, focusing on understanding and evaluation of the effectiveness of technologies and leadership within a digital environment. The cost is $63,049, and it is to be paid through Title I funds.
A motion?
Move it.
Ms. Micchio, seconded by Mrs. Gonzalez. Discussion? Seeing none?
Mr. Fink?
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mrs. Micchio?
Yes.
Mr. Seitler?
Yes.
Mr. Tift?
Yes.
Mr. Zlatkin?
Yes.
Mr. Oestreicher?
Yes.
Mr. Grunhut?
Yes.
Okay, the next item. Approval of job description for substance abuse coordinator.
There's no one named specifically, is that correct? It's just to get the job
Just-
description?
That is correct.
Is there a motion? Mrs. Micchio, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Gonzalez. Discussion?
Yes, Mike, have we had this position in the past, or this is a new position that we're looking to
Superintendent or assistant, there's a question for you. Is this a new position, or have we had a SAC officer before, employed by, a district employed SAC officer?
No, we do not have any district employed SAC worker.
Just so we're clear though, for the public and the board, we do have SAC officers through preferred, I believe.
One, I believe.
Commence. But this is...
I don't recall his name, but yes.
Okay. Ms. Silver, do we have a need in the district for a substance abuse coordinator?
In this district, yes. Most definitely, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, call them please.
Mr. Fink?
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez?
What? Yes.
Mrs. Micchio?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Seitler?
Yes.
Mr. Tift?
Yes.
Mr. Zlatkin?
Yes.
Mr. Ostreicher?
Yes.
Mr. Grunhut?
Yes.
The next item is approve one-year preschool program plan update for 2011-2012 school year.
Is there a motion?
Move it. Second.
Discussion?
Mike, is there a cost on that, or what do we?
Let's ask the superintendent. Madam, is there a cost to this?
This is just to approve the program moving forward that we have in place. It's required by the state.
Thank you.
So there is no cost?
Well, there is a budget based on the preschool budget.
Based on the findings, obviously.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Does that answer?
Yeah.
Call that, please.
Mr. Fink?
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mrs. Micchio?
Yes.
Mr. Seitler?
Yes.
Mr. Tift?
Yes.
Mr. Zlatkin?
Yes.
Mr. Ostreicher?
Yes.
Mr. Grunhut?
Yes.
Okay, the next item is a personnel item for termination, employee number 6795, effective May 6, 2011, paid administrative leave through June 14th, 2011.
Move.
Employee number 6795.
Dear public, excuse me, Mr. President, if I may share something with the public.
Yes.
It is my opinion, and the board agrees, I believe, that there's significant personnel issues about to be discussed. I believe that the public should, this is not a legal opinion, but should, as the parliamentarian, should have the right to discuss these personnel issues before they're voted on. So that is my Robert's rules, that the public should have a right to discuss. If you're signed up and you want to discuss these personnel issues, I believe the board should take into consideration what you may have to say on these personnel issues. So, Mr. Green, can you isolate the personnel issues, which means take them and put them in a pile? I don't know. May I have them?
Ross, have the numbers on?
I don't know. What is this? Okay. Mr. President and Board, if I could read the personnel matters that were discussed. The reason they're on an addendum is because the people were riced, which is the law. The first personnel item, from what I'm reading, is to transfer the high school principal, Ms. Tina Yulee, from the high school to the Clark School.
No.
I'm just reading them. We are giving the public an opportunity, if I may. from Miss Hewley from the high school to the Clark School. Regardless, her salary would go from Group 1 Step 18 MA 30 to Group 1 Step 8 MA 30 per LAA contract from 132 166 132 135 921. If I could have a second. That is the superintendent. Well, hold it, please. Give me a second. I didn't finish reading it, and there's the sign-in sheet. It's, Ms. Silva, is this your recommendation?
Yes, it is.
Are there any other terms you want to add to that recommendation?
No.
Okay, let me just go through all the personnel items, and then we will give the public a chance. Personnel to have Laura Winters become the principal of Oak Street School. Dr. Boxer is retiring, commencing June 1st, 2011, going from a salary of $104,490 to Group 1 Step 4, $118,560. The next, is that your recommendation, Mrs. Superintendent?
Yes, it is.
Mr. Inselbach, the last one you read, can you just clarify that?
Laura Winters. I will give these back to you. The third one, and these were what was discussed in closed session, and the employees were right. To transfer Annette Maldonado from principal middle school to assistant principal at Oak Street School from a salary of $116,305 to $109,745, effective July 1st. All of these go through June 30th, 2012. The next personnel item,
Excuse me, Mike, are we doing
is that your recommendation, Ms. Silva?
Yes, it is.
Are we doing these all at once, or
We're
are we
going
doing
to do them separately,
individually?
but I want the public,
Thank you.
you want the public to have the chance, I believe, to address these issues. Yvonne Marty DeDaniels, transfer from Clark School at 132-166 to the Principal of Discipline and Student Affairs at the high school to 138-488. And to terminate employee 6795, effective May 6, 2011, paid administrative leave through June 14, 2011. So the public is aware those are the personnel items that were discussed in closed session. The next one is to hold the increment of employee SS, hold her increment, and formulate an improvement plan to be put into effect immediately. Not to renew employee CJ as health benefits coordinator and return to a non-instructional para position for the 11-12 year. Not to renew employee KG as a para, effective 2011-12. Ms. Silva, these are your recommendations? Is
Yes,
that
they are.
correct? They were discussed in closed session. The board has decided on my suggestion that the public have a right to discuss these personnel items. We will call the list as it exists. James, give me 1 second, guys. Are you signed up here? Okay, so just give me one name and... Sit. Just come here for 1 second, please. So the record reflects someone crossed out Adriana, that's why I didn't see it, but she did, this is your signature, and you did sign up, and you didn't ask anyone to cross you off. So Ms. Williams, go right ahead. If we could listen to this order.
Excuse me, I would like everybody's attention because I have something important to say. Thank you. I am Adriana Maria Williams, and I have a lot to say. As concerned students, we would like to address the decisions that are being made by the board and superintendent. There are rumors that once again Lakewood High School will be have different administrations have been changed. In the past 5 years, the high school has had no considered leadership. It appears that the board, in conjunction with the superintendent Silva, has a desire to see the school fail. We have repeatedly made decisions that are not in best interest of the high school student. We have not had a guidance director for the whole year. Other districts have Title I funding and have great faculty and I'm being serious. And successful school programs. Example, Neptune High School, which by the way hired one of our guidance counselors to be a guidance counselor, but Ms. Silva refused to hire her at Lakewood. Our district spent more money on busing than anything else. Other high schools in our area have technology that's way more than we have in our schools. While other schools have smart boards, we are still using chalkboards. Our school is slowly falling apart. When it rains, windows are leaking. It is cold. Most of the classrooms have no heat, and y'all made a decision that we should not wear hoodies. Did y'all take into consideration that it is cold in this building? We need to keep warm? Y'all forbid them for the students. We understand that we are not Jews. However, we deserve opportunities to be successful too. Invest in the high school the same way you invest in your community and your schools. It is time for the misuse in the schools and abuse power by the board and superintendents to stop. It is time to have people who care about the students and not thinking about their own selfish ways and motives. I would like to ask you to revalue the superintendents and the assistant attendant and tell me if you think they deserve to make these choices for us. Also, our principal has done a lot for us. She has changed. Y'all might not see it, but we do see it. And we appreciate y'all let her stay. To y'all think this is a jungle, but to us, she made it a home for us. These teachers and these faculty really do care about us, and y'all trying to take us away. That's not helping us. Y'all trying to bring us apart. We need to stick together. Like y'all do in y'all communities, we want the same. We deserve the same. We came here as one today because we believe that we should have our principal. Y'all stick together, we're sticking together. We are here. That shows that we care. And now I want you to take that consideration and respect how I feel and we feel. Thank you.
Ms. Silva, could you respond to that? Why are you recommending this?
It is in the best interest of the school district.
Wait a minute, Ms. Silva. I thought this was based on something with a grant. Did you?
It is in the best interest of the school district. We are now we are in the process of applying for a grant that will enable the high school to have an additional $2 million per year. And in order to have that grant, we have to make some radical changes in the school. The young woman who came up talked about smart boards. This would enable us to have those kinds of things and many other things. And therefore, our potential to receive the grant will be enhanced if this decision is made with regard to the principal. And this is not to say that everything that the students indicated is very, very true. Mrs. Yulee was asked by this board, or the previous members of the board and some of the members here, to come into the high school and organize it, manage it, because from my understanding it wasn't. And we are indebted to her for what she did. In order for us to move forward, we will need someone who is much more knowledgeable about the instruction of the high school. Mrs. Yulee will be transferred to another school where she has experience, a lot of experience in the area of reading for grammar school children. So we had to make a decision. Do we go for this grant? And if we go for the grant, we have to make some radical changes as stipulated by the State Education Department. Hence, as hard as it was for me, because I've worked with Mrs. Yulee for the last year and a half, I had to make this decision in the interest of students and the future of the high school.
James Waters is no longer here. Pastor Wilson?
He's not going to speak on that.
Oh, he's not going to speak on any of the personnel?
Personnel? No.
No, I'm sorry, Pastor. Okay, you are.
Yes.
Fred Rush, go ahead. I'm sorry, Fred Rush.
You know my name. You know where I am. I'm on there this time. And first of all, thanks for putting me on last week, a couple of weeks ago. But Miss Silla, I don't understand your rationale when it comes to Ms. Daniels. There's something definitely wrong with your thought process in terms of getting this grant. And you also know if we get this grant, we're not going to get the money. It's going somewhere else. Give me a break. It's not going to come to us. So I beg to differ with you. We think that the people that you have in place, and I'm only advocating on the person at LSG Cox School, she should stay at that school. That would be in the best interest of our children. I don't think, she's been there quite a long time. She's been here in this district much more longer than you. I don't think you understand exactly how important she is to the children and to the teachers and the staff at that district. I think she makes it work. And you know what? I didn't even ask her if I could speak on her behalf. I just know her that way. I know what she does. She's really, really good. So I would think that hopefully you guys would reconsider because I think you're making a great mistake and your realignment. And quite frankly, I don't understand how this grant, the $2 million, will be awarded to us. I mean, first of all, we haven't gotten it. I mean, by moving these people, if you can assure us that we're going to get it, then that's another conversation. But you're moving them with the intent or the possibility of us getting this grant. Grants are hard. Everybody goes for these grants. So I think you need to reconsider. Thanks.
Clark needs a bilingual principal.
Good evening, everyone.
You can't hear.
I said good evening, everyone.
Your name?
Naomi Woodside. I'm a parent of Lachey Woodside in this school, and my daughter been here since 9th grade. In the beginning, the school was a little rough. Since Ms. Yulee came over to this school, these kids became like brothers and sisters. You pull her out and you put somebody in that these kids don't even know. These kids know her. Some of these kids look up to her like a mom that they don't have, a dad that they don't have. You pull her away, what do these kids have? They have a foundation now. You're going to bring somebody new in, and when you bring somebody new in, you can't knock on the door. All principals are not the same. You're going to pull something that's going great for these kids. You pull her out, you're going to pull them down.
I'm Najee Williams. I just want to say the foreperson that just spoke, the student, she was a senior. She's leaving, so she has nothing to gain or lose by the statement she just made. Ms. Silva, you made a blanket statement that Ms. Yulee is not qualified. Your qualifications as a superintendent are also in question. I've been dialoguing with you about this everyday math for consecutive board sessions, and I'm going to show you tonight that you are not qualified to run this district, period. You can take your credentials back to Newark, where there are urban learners, but these are not urban learners. These are students. that they plan to go to college. Bill Hobday, 30 Schoolhouse Lane. Business and industry has had to rise to these occasions over the years to stay in business and to survive. Lakewood School District has been a failing district for enough years that the state has said, you must reorganize, you must do things differently, and because you have been a failing district, you can apply for this grant to help you out. But there's strings attached to everything. You must go along with the guidelines. You must do as a school district your part to help do that. And it's heartbreaking. The business model is to, when things have gone so wrong for so long, you have to shuffle. And as hard as that is, it devastates the individuals. It's very difficult on the teachers. It's very difficult on the students. But nevertheless, if the Lakewood School District wants to survive, you better do those things, put those things in place that will help us survive, or else we won't have a school district. So I empathize with you, but that's the bottom line in business and industry, and I am grateful that that has come to education. So it's hard to do it. I congratulate you for doing it, and I sympathize you for doing it. Thank you.
All right.
Hello, Mr. Chairman. Hi.
There's no more members of the public. We're now turning.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We're now turning it over to the board. Go ahead, Ms. McGill.
Okay. What I was going to ask is if we can table one of the people being recommended to be moved due to the new information that came in front of us out in private conference. And it's Mrs. D. Daniel.
Ms. McGill, were you completed or were you adding some other things? Ms. McGill, you're done? She's done.
I'll second it.
That's
There's
all I
a-
asked, the table.
Okay, we heard, and there's a first and a second to table that move of Yvonne Marty DeDaniels. Is there any other discussion from the board?
Yes, I wasn't there by the closed session. I'm not sure if you're going to Mrs. Watson's telling me.
Use your microphone.
But I just had one question. Does this stop anything else, or is this a thing by itself?
Ask the superintendent
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
if we table this.
No, I don't want to table it.
No, my saying is that if you do table it, is it something that it has ramifications?
It has a domino effect, yes.
It has a domino.
Is there any other discussion? Go on, is there any other discussion?
What was the motion?
The motion was to table the motion to reassign Yvonne Marty to Daniels. There's a first and second, which means it must be read and called. Please call it. If you vote yes, you're voting to table. If you vote no, you're voting not to table. Can you do that, sir?
Mr. Fink?
No.
Mrs. Gonzalez?
No.
Mrs. Micchio?
Well, this is my motion, I'll say yes.
Mr. Seitler?
No.
Mr. Tift?
Yes.
Mr. Zlatkin?
No.
Mr. Ostreicher?
Yes.
Mr. Grunhut? No. 2, 3, 4, 5. Motion, there's 5 noes, 3 yeses.
The motion fails, sir.
Correct.
Okay. Are there any other? Okay, so now, is there any other discussion about those motions? There's the motion.
Point of information, Ms. Yule, can we put that on the table?
It is a motion.
No, I think the motion was for Ms. Martha Daniels, not Ms. Yule.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're talking about Ms. Yule.
All right, the first motion is Tina Yulee to transfer, which I read before, from the principal of high school to principal at Clark. Effective July 1st through June 30th, 2012. Her salary would increase regardless from $132,166 to $135,921, based on the recommendation of the superintendent. The superintendent, are you willing to consider whether we get the grant or not?
No.
Okay, is that fine?
Mike, I have a question, if you don't mind.
Wait, let somebody... Now, Mr. Tiff has a question, thank you.
Ms. Silva, is there, I know you probably wouldn't know, but is there any guarantee for what you see based on the application that we filed with the state for this grant, that this district will receive it?
There is no grant. That's why it's a grant. You apply for it, and the efficacy and the quality of the, usually it's the quality and the efficacy of the actual application. And one of the things that the commissioner sent us a recent letter about, he very clearly indicated that there had to be aggressive moves. And that's based on the research that clearly indicates reform, real reform, where children are graduating at higher numbers, where children are engaged in their instruction in a very high, and demonstrably has to be led by their principals. And therefore, that's why they themselves have indicated that aggressive moves. He very clearly indicated, because initially our grant was not the model that we are now choosing. It was a transitional model which would maintain everyone. He wrote us a letter a week and a half ago and clearly said, if you choose that, that is not going to be as highly considered as the other three models. Given that information, we made a decision to change the way we were going to set the grant, the model for the grant. It jeopardizes it.
If we wouldn't have had applied for the grant, would these moves still would have been taking place?
Yes.
Even without the grant.
It's personal with you. It's personal.
Yes, it would have.
It's personal.
So what are the reasons why they make the move?
It's personal.
Ms. Silva, what the board has discussed with you, what if we don't get the grant?
That's right.
The high school needs stability, and that's what...
They have stability now. You understand what they have. If you think about these kids.
Schools can have stability. They can have really good management. If that's all that, I think there's more to schools than just good management. There's got to be rigor in the curriculum so that our children
Ms. Silva.
We cannot do this.
You guys are not really listening to the public.
Miss Julie is qualified for this school. She has a relationship with the children, and that's what's most important.
Through the chair.
That's all right.
Yes, Mr. Seitler.
In reference to Mr. Tiff's question before, I'm not saying
We can't hear you.
I'm not saying that I am for or against. I'm just trying to have a normal discussion. Following up on Mr. Tiff's question, I just don't understand. A few weeks ago we had a meeting and we were going to do the transitional program and everyone was going to stay intact. I would assume that the only reason why we're making this change 3 weeks later is because of the letter that we received that says that in order to get the grant, you have to do these changes. If not for the grant, it would seem we would not be doing these changes because 3 weeks ago we weren't being recommended to make these changes. I wasn't asking you. So therefore, I'm not understanding why we wouldn't make this contingent on the grant, because if this would have been done without the grant, we would have been having this recommendation 3 weeks ago.
That's right. Personal.
So it's all
In answer to your, are you done? In answer to your question, Einstein says the definition of insanity is to do the same thing in the same way and expect different results. Throughout the country, if you're going to make reform, you have to do a number of things. One of the key elements in changing a school is if after a number of years the school is not showing the kind of progress as expected, the principal, and that's why all these grants are saying that, to make aggressive changes, you change the principal. Having been a principal, I know that. And that's why I feel that this is the right thing. It gave us an opportunity. By the way, no one is losing a job. Everybody is continuing.
That's the point. They're losing a good principal. That's the point.
What happened from 3 weeks ago to now? I'm trying to figure out. In other words, 3 weeks ago,
Mr. Seiler and Ms. Silva. Mr. Seiler, if I may, is asking. Only several weeks ago, we had Ms. Yulee standing here presenting for the grant, so maybe explain what has happened, if anything. Sid, remember that? We had
I made it very clear that at that time, we were going for what's called the transitional model. The transitional model does not call for the kind of changes that the more aggressive models call for. We went along with it because of the fact that it would have maintained a lot of people in place. When this other thing came and we realized that it would have to be much more aggressive, quite frankly, it gave me an opportunity to say, okay, we're prioritizing instruction. A lot of good things have happened in the Lakewood High School, and I applaud them. Now we got to go to the next level, which is really digging into the instruction so that kids are getting the best possible, most rigorous education. That can be done with people who happen to have different experiences from the principal at this point.
through the chair. But I'm just trying to say it should be contingent on the grant based on what you're saying.
That's right. That's right.
That's your decision. This is my recommendation as a superintendent. When I was hired, I was told that I had to raise the achievement level. You stay, if everything stays the same, then why? How are we going to change things?
Well, if you're still here, how are things going to change? How are you still here?
Yes. Hello, who is?
doesn't speak Spanish.
Hey, excuse me. There's a board meeting here. I appreciate the public, unless they're on being asked to speak, to please keep quiet. Excuse me.
We are now going to have board member Ostreicher. What do you want to ask?
Madam Superintendent, you were a principal previously in Washington Heights and an assistant superintendent in Newark, and you came along with a resume that you changed your schools. For the benefit of the public, we spoke about this in closed session. Can you kindly tell the public how long it took for you to change the schools in Newark?
Within the first 3 years, we started to see the change in the test scores. And thereafter, within 7 years, we had a blue ribbon school. 4 others were among the top in Newark, and as well as the other surrounding areas that socioeconomically were much better off, like Bloomfield.
And you are to be given tremendous credit for your accomplishments over there in Newark. However, as you just indicated, it took at least 3 years to get things beginning to move. And ladies and gentlemen, please, I want my comments to be heard. It took at least 3 years to begin the changes and over 7 years to get the blue ribbon. Now, Ms. Yulee has been a highly successful principal at the middle school, and that's why she was promoted a year and a half ago to the high school. Now, all will admit that she has made tremendous strides in the high school. Why are we going to pull out the rug from underneath her just when things are beginning to happen, just when things are beginning to fall into place, just for the sake of the Einsteinian theory of doing the same wrong things. It's not the wrong thing. In this particular case, it happens not to be the wrong thing. It happens to be the right thing. And if that's the case, allow it to continue to go on. And perhaps in a year or two from now, if things don't work out after 3, 4, or 5 years, then maybe we can begin considering it.
Through the chair. Through the chair. Through the chair.
Yes, Stacy.
I am very disturbed about some of the moves that are being made tonight. My kids are in the public school system, and they do attend Clark School. And I feel that it will disrupt the learning in the school when these kids find out that principals are being moved out. We have to look at sometimes what else causes a failing school district. Sometimes it's not always the administration. I recall last year or a couple months ago where the high school and some of the schools didn't have any books. And there was a big issue with that. And they're always trying different standards for state standards in the middle of marking periods, which also disrupt and change. You know, everybody's hurry up and let's do this math, let's do this reading, let's do this, let's do that. You know, sometimes